Hello my lovelies and welcome to another video on my channel. Thank you very much for joining me today as always. This video is going to be about creating this mani. As you can see, I was feeling the purple vibes today, so we've gone 3 different shades of purple. I recently purchased some Sina gel polishes that I hadn't used before and I wanted to use them, so we're going to use 3 out of the 4 that I bought today. So I think this is everything that I used. We'll have a look through as we go through the video. If I think of something else that I've missed, then I will let you know. So the base color I've got on is opaque nude. You don't need a nude base for this mani. I just wanted to tell you what color I had because I do have a color underneath. You will need a base coat, a clear, or yeah, either base coat or a clear gel polish as well. The 3 color purples I used are these Sina gel polishes. This is number GP48 called Grape. This is GP50 and this is Wineberry. And this is GP01 and I don't think, yes, it's missing its bottom, so I don't know what its name is, I'm sorry, but it is color GP01. You will also need some foil gel and of course your top coat to seal in your design. I thought I'd throw in as a reminder because I don't think I ever do this at the end of my videos, and I recently bought this nurture oil or cuticle oil, so I just thought I'd throw that in there as well to remind us all to do that at the end. The foil you use, this one is from Madam Glam, but you can use any gold foil. You can get it from pretty much anywhere. You will need a dampen dish with some isopropyl alcohol, a cleanup brush, an ombre brush. This is a Born Pretty one. As you can see, this is a very well loved brush. At some point I am going to need to to retire this one. I also used an application brush because I decanted some of my base coat onto my palette. So with this gold foil, it's wonderful stuff and I love it, but it can be a little bit flaky and I didn't want any flakes to get into my top coat or even my base coat, so I decanted some on my palette, which we'll see as we go through the video. So I just used that to apply the base coat over the top of the foil to give it a layer, an extra layer of protection. And then I use my striping brush. I use this all through the mani. I use it to create the border. I also use it to apply my foil gel. So I think that's everything that I used. Everything bar these 2 brushes and the foil is from NSI Australia. I do have a code that will give you 10% off your first order, which is ZoeH_NSI, and I will put it at the top of the screen as well. I think that's everything that I used. As I said, if I think of something else as we go through, if I spot anything, I will let you know what that is. And I hope you enjoy this video. I hope everybody is well, and let's get into it. So I think by the time, yes, I've already done 1 coat on my little finger of the purple GP50. Sorry about that. I thought I was recording and turns out that I wasn't. Oops. But it's only just done the 1 coat and I did nothing tricky. It was just a normal layer of gel polish, no designs or squiggles or anything on that nail. So I'm just coming in and doing the dividing line on my ring finger. So this is the same color. This is still that GP50. It's a really pretty color. It's beautiful. It's slightly streaky compared to the other colors. So you'll probably see that at certain times I lay my brush as flat as possible against my nail, and that's why. I also use my detailer brush, I think it's actually a striping brush, in this when I do this mani. So one thing I did struggle with, and I have to say I did struggle a bit with this mani, as you'll probably see, and I've also done a fair bit of editing because I didn't want to show you the, the most painful parts, but it was because the brushes, these polishes that I use, these Sina polishes are beautiful. They're lovely and opaque, rich colors, but the brush on them is actually quite wide compared to the other colors that I use. So if you've got wider nail beds, then that's not going to be an issue for you. I've actually got really narrow nail beds, especially on obviously my smaller fingers. Sorry if you can hear that, that's my cat having a whinge in the background. So yes, I did find, as you'll see quite a few times in this video, I ended up turning the brush on its side quite frequently because using it flat was just too wide for doing half of my nail. And also obviously putting the curve in there made it that little bit more tricky as well. You could obviously make it a lot more easy and gentle on yourself by doing a 50-50 split, just doing a vertical split down the nail without putting the little squiggle in. But I wanted the little squiggly line. So I did go in a lot with my striper brush, as you will see, like I'm doing right now. And then other times I turned the brushes on their side because they are quite wide. So as I said, you know, if you have got slightly wider nail beds, it's not going to be an issue for you. It's just I've got very small, very narrow nail beds. So I did struggle a little bit with that aspect. I could, of course, made it easier on myself and just decanted some, or used the polish that I've got decanted on my palette and used an application brush or my number 4 gel brush. So, you know, hindsight, probably should have thought about doing that, but I had weekend brain and I didn't do that. So make it a bit easier on yourself if you do have a smaller gel brush, like a gel, you know, size 4, then might make it a little bit easier on yourself if you do have narrower nail beds. So this one is the other color I'm using on this nail, which was the GP48. This was a lovely color. This is the one that's called Grape. Very, very pretty. Just one of those purples, very rich and opaque sort of purple that goes with anything. So I really did like this color. And again, as you can see, I'm coming in with my striping brush. So I just decided to do something a little bit different this week. I don't know that I've done nail foils on my channel. I have to go back through some of my videos, but if I have, it was a long time ago, and I had this lovely gold sitting there, so I just wanted to use that. The gold that I'm using I picked up in a Madame Glam advent calendar, but you can get the gold foils from most nail suppliers, so they're quite easy to get hold of, and I just wanted to do that with the little squiggle down my nail. And then I just do a little design, I don't even know you'd call it a design really, on the little finger and the index finger when we get to them. So here I'm just coming in and perfecting that line. You definitely want to do a full cure when you're doing the half nails that I'm doing now. You definitely want to do a full cure of the color that you apply first. I wouldn't recommend doing the two and curing them together, because as we know, gel polishers do like to self-level, and you're going to find that the colors run into each other a little bit, which if you're doing oh, excuse me, if you're doing like an ombre, then that's absolutely fine. That's obviously what you want to happen. So you wouldn't cure the first color on its own. You would always do the two colors, blend them, and then cure. But I didn't want that effect on this mani. I wanted the two colors to be quite distinct because I wanted to do that gold foil divide. So I do the first color and then fully cure it. The reason I say fully cure rather than freeze cure is if you go over the line with your second color, which I think I do at 1 or 2 points in this video, then you can just go and remove where you've overlaid it very easily with a bit of isopropyl alcohol, and you're not going to damage that first color that you lay down because it is fully cured. If you've only done a freeze cure, then what can happen when you put isopropyl alcohol on it is that it can damage that. It gives you almost like a bubbling, sort of a bubble effect. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's a bit hard to describe without showing you, and because I've done a full cure, I don't show that in the video. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that. If you think you're going to, freeze curing is a fantastic thing to do if you're confident about the design that you're doing. If you're doing, I should say, if I'm doing something like this, where I'm half suspecting that I'm going to go over where I don't want to, then I will do a full cure, because putting isopropyl alcohol on fully cured gel is going to do it no damage whatsoever. You're not going to risk anything with your first coat of color. So I always do a full cure when I'm doing a design like this, as opposed to a freeze cure. I don't think these gel polishers actually say on the bottle, no they don't. I cure them for 60 seconds because they are relatively thick in consistency compared to some other gel polishers, and they are very opaque. So I cure these for 60 seconds in the LED lamp. But of course you can do a couple of nails at a time, so you don't have to do them one at a time. It just means the nails where you're doing the 50-50 split, I would fully cure the first color before I go in with my second color. And again, you can see here I'm going in with my striper brush to get really close to the cuticle and sidewalls, and that is because these brushes are quite wide and I didn't want to go too far over the purple, that grape color that I had already laid down. So this color is GP01. This is the one that doesn't actually have a name. Well, I'm sure it does, but the sticker's fallen off the bottom of my bottle, so I can't tell you what this name is. The GP50, that very first purple that we used, is called Wineberry. So yeah, these colors were really nice to work with. I really like them. I like them together as well, the various shades of purple. Yeah, I thought they looked quite nice blended together. And I think I'm also doing my thumb at the same time as this, just off camera. I think I showed it sometimes, but not others. So yes, I did like this color as well. So yes, this one did give me a little bit of the whoopsies every now and again, I have to say. But I did actually really like the way that it turned out in the end, which is good. Always helpful when you've spent some time doing your nails and you actually like the end result, which doesn't always happen, I have to say. But I did like this one. So this is what I'm talking about here, where I'm just going in. I've gone over that line a little bit, which I didn't want to do. So I'm just coming in with my cleanup brush that you have all seen numerous times before, because I'm always cleaning up my mess, and a bit of isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going over that line. And as I said, that first layer had been fully cured, so there are no issues with that. And then this one, I'm just going in. I don't think I'm worried about my striper brush with this color, because I'm just doing the straight color. So my index finger and my ring finger just had the solid one color, and the other nails all had the 50-50 with a little squiggly line down the center of the nail. So I apologize for not having done a design on my channel for a while. I think it's been about 3 weeks, which is hopeless. I do apologize for that. It's just been a really busy time. We had obviously Easter, which I think probably most of you had, and then we also had Anzac Day, which followed very closely behind. So it's been a very busy time, and so I do apologize for the lack of design. So I will make more of an effort and try and get at least one design up each week over the next few weeks at least. So my apologies for the delay there. And here I just come in and show you doing my thumb. My thumb was a little bit easier, of course, because it's wider. It's got the most real estate of any of my nails, so I quite like coming to my thumb sometimes, although they're very awkward to do on camera. You can probably tell by the angle of my hand. It's a little bit awkward, but it did make it a little bit easier because I had a little bit of a wider nail to work on, which is a bit helpful. So I could actually come in with a reasonable angle with my brush on this one, which is always very helpful. So I was debating with the dividing line and the gold. I could have done, well, I had several options. I thought for a little while about using gold leaf. I bought some gold leaf a few weeks back, and I haven't actually got to use it yet. So I contemplated that. I did contemplate like a gold liner or glitter liner, gel polish liner, and I ended up settling on the foil because, as I said, I hadn't done that for a while. So I was happy with the way the foil turned out on my left hand. The very first nail where I did the squiggly line on my right hand, I wasn't very happy with the way that turned out, but this is always why I record me doing my left hand. I am right-handed, so when I'm working on my right hand, I'm obviously using my left hand. Can be a bit dodgy, I have to say. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay. So that's why I generally don't record doing my left hand. It is much slower for me to work on, and I often don't end up being quite as happy as the right hand. Having said that, I was really happy with the way the foil turned out on my right thumb, just not on the first nail that I did. I just felt like I messed up my foil squiggly line. And I could, of course, gone back and redone it, but to be honest, I'd had a couple of fail nails with this one already, and I was running a little bit short of time, so I didn't have time to go back and redo that foil. So yes, but I did decide on the foil, but I don't know, what do you think would have worked better? Do you think a gel paint would have worked a little bit better? Or I could have just done some gold foil leaf. I might use those gold foil leaf actually. I haven't used that, so I might try and think of a design and use that on my next mani. I think because it's coming into autumn, I'm sort of leaning towards all those more muted colours. I know that this is a purple mani, but for my next one I was thinking about browns and maybe a bit of gold, using that gold leaf, maybe various shades of brown, maybe a fade going from like a pale brown to a dark brown. It's just that time of year. All the leaves are changing, all the plants are looking really pretty, everything's going either yellow or orange, which is really pretty. Autumn's always such a pretty season. Yep, more cleanup. I did have to do that a few times. I also did that a few times, cleaning up, intentionally going a little bit too far over onto the other colour, because I wanted to see exactly where that dividing line was to make it nice and consistent. So sometimes you need to remove a little bit of colour to see where you have been. It's a bit like painting a wall sometimes, you know, it's can be a bit hard to see where you've been and where you've done that extra coat. So sometimes I will remove, I did that a couple of times with this mani, I'll just remove a little bit of the colour just so I can really clearly see where that line was, because I did want quite distinctive sides, halves of the nails, rather than let the colours blend. So once I'm happy with that, that also goes in the lamp for 60 seconds. I think all the gel polishes I used today actually are in this video. I think they were all 60-second cure, including the foil gel. So that is a 60-second cure. The other thing, of course, I could have used is chrome powder. And I did consider that, and I think that probably would have actually looked really good, and to be honest, would have been easier to do. Because you'll see when I come to do the foil gel is perfectly clear. It's like using a top coat. So it can actually be quite hard to see where you've been on your nail. You do remove the tacky layer so your nail is matte, but of course it's never really truly matte. It still has a little bit of sort of shimmer to it, so it can be really quite hard to see where you've placed the foil gel. Whereas if I'd used a chrome powder, then I would have used black gel paint as my base for that, which obviously would have been very, very visible and a lot easier to see. And so, to be honest, probably would have been a little bit easier. But you know, what's a mani without challenge? So you know, you don't get used to using the foil gels and things unless you use them. So you know, it was good, and I did enjoy it, and I really did like the way that the end result looked. Foils do give quite a different look on your nail, especially this one, because it's sort of goldy, but it's got a bit of texture to it. So whereas if I'd used something like a chrome powder, it would have been sort of a perfectly smooth, consistent looking gold. So it really depends on the look that you are going for. I wanted to use the foil because I wanted that slightly more textured look, which the foil gives you. So here I'm going in, I've done 2 coats of all colours layers on these nails. Nothing took more than 2 coats, everything was the 2. Now I'm going in and removing the tacky layer of the gel polish. You need to be really careful removing the tacky layer. You want to remove it as much as possible, because otherwise when you put your gold foil down, then it will stick to anything that's got a tacky layer to it. Goodness, I can't get my words straight. So if you haven't removed the tacky layer fully, then your foil will go onto that part of the nail, is what I'm trying to say. So you want to be very careful, try and remove all of the tacky layer as much as possible. If you don't, and you get a bit of gold foil where you don't want it to be, it is not a big deal, to be honest, because you can remove it with isopropyl alcohol if it's not too big a chunk, or you can come in with something like an orange wood stick and remove some of that. I don't think that happened to me on this hand. It did on my right hand, but of course I wasn't recording that, so I'm not sure if that happens doing this hand or not. We'll soon see. But yes, as you can see, I'm just coming in with the foil gel. That is what is on my palette at the moment, and I'm just picking up some of that, and I'm just following the line of my color divide. That's where I want my gold foil to be. Now obviously the thicker you do, the thicker the line of your foil gel is going to be, the thicker gold that you have, because the foil will stick to it. So it really depends entirely on how thick you want your line to be. I wanted mine somewhere, I didn't want it particularly thin, I wanted it to be quite obvious and a clear distinction between the two colours, but I didn't want it to be so thick that it sort of dominated the nail. Here I'm just coming in with my ombre brush and I'm just picking up a bit of that foil gel and just almost haphazardly putting it in the center of the nail. I'm not too worried about whether I'm being thick or thin. I wanted these nails to look really textured. I really just put the gold on to tie them in with the other nails, but I didn't want them to be quite as structured, for the want of a better word. I wanted them to be a bit more of a haphazard design rather than follow a distinct pattern. So that's why I thought the ombre brush is going to give me that look quite nicely. So I just went in and, as you saw, did a few flecks with the brush. And I was actually really happy how it turned out, because it looked slightly thicker in some parts and thinner in others, which is exactly what I was after. So yeah, here I'm just going in, doing my thumb. That is a 60-second cure for the foil gel. And now I'm just coming in to apply the foil on those two nails. I'm just dabbing it, as you can see. I do lay it flat and rub it in where I've got the lines. I could have done it either way. I just wanted to show you both ways of applying it. Because we removed the tacky layer, it is only sticking to that foil gel. So that's a really, really important step. Make sure you remove the tacky layer of your gel polish before you go in with your foil gel. And there I'm just going in and making sure I got every bit. I ran out of gold on that one, so I picked up my other piece of gold foil. And as you can see, it comes off really, really easily. That foil gel is really very good. That's the NSI one that I've got. I haven't tried any other brands in foil gel, but I've been really happy with this one. So it works very, very nicely. And here I am just coming in with my rubber base in clear, so whatever base coat that you use, and I am decanting it. So the reason being, foil does have little bits of flecks that can come off it. Not as much, not as full on as something like a chrome powder or a loose glitter, but sometimes you do get little tiny bits of foil that can lift and end up on your brush, and I didn't want that. I didn't want any gold foil getting into my base coat. That is a brand new base coat that I bought a month or two ago, and I didn't want it getting contaminated with any little pieces of gold foil. So all I've done is just decant some onto my palette, and I have picked up my application brush. This is a Madame Glam brush, really nice brush to work with. So I'm just using that to apply it, because of course that doesn't get dipped back into the bottle. So I'll just give that a good clean when I'm finished to get rid of any foil that may have come off. So yes, as it turns out on this hand, I didn't have any bits of foil that I needed to remove. But if you do, as I said, it is very easy to do. Just come along with a bit of isopropyl alcohol and a brush or a lint-free wipe. And alternatively, if you've got quite a largish patch or it's being a little bit stubborn to come off, then use an orange wood stick or a cuticle stick and just very gently scratch it, just remove it from the nail, just use it to scrape it. That's the word I'm looking for, to scrape it off your nail. And it won't do any damage to your gel polish because you've cured it, so it won't cause any damage. So I just wanted to come in with a layer of base coat. I'm actually not sure that I've explained why I am doing this. I always do this step if I've put something down on my nails that is not a gel polish. So I do this for loose glitter, I do this for chrome powder, any kind of powder for that matter, foils, anything that's not gel polish that's taking up a portion of my nail. I always put a layer of base coat down first. It gives a little bit of extra protection layer. What can happen, especially with chrome powders and foils, is that what can happen is that over time, as you wear your mani for 2 to 3 weeks, however long, with wear and tear, you know, doing the things that you do around home, work, etc., is that the top part can sometimes come away. So if you've got like a chrome powder, it can wear off. Something like a foil, you might end up wearing that off a little bit as well. So if you have an additional layer between your product and your top coat, then you minimize the chances of that happening. You could of course use you could just apply 2 layers of top coat. That works really well, especially if you've got a top coat that has a tacky layer. If you don't, you can either use a matte top coat. underneath a shiny, or do a shiny and then just very, very lightly buff it. And when I say very lightly, you're just literally taking off that shine, so your second layer of top coat will adhere to it. So you've got lots of options. Just do one that adds an extra little bit of protection between your product and your top coat. Oh, sorry for that little interruption. I've got a little bit of a catchy throat today, so just have to go and have a quick drink. So yes, cap your free edge. Don't forget to cap your free edge. I've just done a little video on that in case you're not sure what that means or why you're doing it or how to do it. So, but it is a very important step. It will definitely help the longevity of your mani. So make sure that you cap your free edge. And this is my top coat layer that we are coming in with now. So this is the final step of our mani. Oh, sorry, apologize. Apart from cuticle oil, I realized I'm really bad at mentioning that in my videos. So I always go in with cuticle oil at the end, but I've never recorded it or particularly mentioned it. And I thought I really should get better at that. So this is technically the second last step. And this is a 60-second cure that top coat. And then this is the going in with the cuticle oil, make your nails nice and shiny. And as always, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you are all well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.